The phone call didn't make headlines at first, but inside NFL circles, it landed like a thunderclap. Because when the Dallas Cowboys quietly requested an interview with a coach who once molded Micah Parsons, it signaled that Jerry Jones might finally be done playing defense with his defensive decisions. Here's the promise of this video right up front. By the end of it, you'll understand why this coaching search isn't just about fixing a broken defense, but about saving a championship window that's closing faster than most fans realize, and why the Cowboys may be preparing for a philosophical shift that could redefine who they are. The Cowboys didn't just fire Matt Eberflus because the numbers looked bad on paper. They fired him because those numbers told a story that was impossible to ignore. 32nd in points allowed. Dead last. Not competitive bad. Historically alarming bad. This wasn't a defense bending and breaking. This was a defense collapsing. And in Dallas, collapse has consequences. Jerry Jones has seen elite defenses before. He's watched them win Super Bowls. He's watched them intimidate opponents before the opening kickoff. What he watched in 2025 was something else entirely. Confusion. Missed assignments. Defensive backs pointing at each other after blown coverages. Pass rushers arriving a second too late, or not at all. That's when the realization hit. This wasn't a talent problem. It was an identity problem. So when January arrived, the Cowboys didn't hesitate. Matt Eberflus was gone. And almost immediately, Dallas went into what league sources describe as full evaluation mode. This wasn't a courtesy search. This wasn't a box-checking exercise. Jerry Jones promised a thorough hunt, and behind the scenes, that promise has been kept. Names started surfacing quickly. Former head coaches, rising coordinators, defensive specialists with reputations for structure and discipline. But then, on January 14th, a single report reframed the entire conversation. NFL insider Josina Anderson dropped a detail that connected dots Cowboys fans didn't even realize existed. The Cowboys requested to interview Green Bay Packers defensive line coach and run game coordinator Demarcus Covington for their defensive coordinator vacancy. That one sentence told us more than it appeared to at first glance. Because Demarcus Covington isn't just another coach on the list. He's a statement. Covington is only 36 years old, but his resume reads like someone who's been in the league for decades. 8 seasons in New England, multiple roles, multiple promotions, a front-row seat to one of the most dominant defensive dynasties the NFL has ever seen. And yes, a Super Bowl ring earned in one of the most defensive-driven championship games in modern history. Super Bowl 53 wasn't flashy. It wasn't explosive. It was surgical. 13-3. Patriots over Rams. That was Bill Belichick football at its coldest and most calculated. And Demarcus Covington was there, learning how every piece fits together when winning is the only acceptable outcome. He started as a coaching assistant, absorbing everything. Then outside linebackers coach. Then defensive line coach. Finally, in 2024, he earned the promotion every defensive coach dreams about. Defensive coordinator. Under first-year head coach Jerod Mayo, Covington didn't just survive. He thrived. The Patriots finished top 10 in passing defense. Top 5 in explosive plays allowed. That matters, because in today's NFL, limiting explosive plays is the difference between competing and collapsing. Covington's defenses weren't reckless. They were disciplined. They forced offenses to earn everything. When Mayo was fired, Covington became collateral damage. Not because he failed, but because the organization reset. Green Bay moved fast. They brought him in as defensive line coach and run game coordinator before the 2025 season, trusting his ability to generate pressure and control the trenches. That's where the Micah Parsons connection enters the picture. Covington has coached elite pass rushers. He's worked with players who demand freedom, creativity, and trust. And while Parsons' late-season ACL tear slowed Green Bay's pass rush, the structure Covington implemented still showed results. Middle-of-the-pack stats don't tell the whole story. The film showed consistency. Assignments sound football, something Dallas desperately lacked. Here's the curiosity gap that should grab every Cowboys fan right now. Dallas didn't just request this interview because Covington knows defense. They requested it because he represents a different way of thinking, a flexible philosophy rooted in adaptability. That's Belichick's real legacy, and Covington absorbed it firsthand. But the Cowboys didn't stop there, because while Green Bay provided one intriguing option, Philadelphia offered something even more provocative. On the same day, another report surfaced. This one came from Jordan Schultz. The Cowboys requested permission to interview Eagles defensive backs coach and pass game coordinator Christian Parker. And suddenly, this search took on a divisional edge. Christian Parker is one of those names that casual fans might overlook, but front offices absolutely do not. He's been coaching since he was 22 years old. 22. That matters because it tells you how early teams identified his football IQ. Parker's path is fascinating. He started in Green Bay as a defensive quality control coach. Quiet role, long hours, minimal recognition. Then Denver gave him a bigger opportunity, defensive backs coach. And that's where the league really started paying attention. Patrick Surtain, too, didn't just become a star by accident. He was developed, coached, refined. Under Parker, Surtain earned 2 Pro Bowl selections and emerged as one of the league's premier corners. That doesn't happen without elite teaching. When Philadelphia brought Parker in for the 2024 season, the results were immediate. The Eagles led the league in pass defense, allowing just 174.2 yards per game. That wasn't scheme luck. That was technique, communication, trust. Rookie cornerbacks Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell didn't play like rookies. They played like veterans, confident, aggressive, disciplined, and that defense powered Philadelphia all the way to a Super Bowl 59 victory. In 2025, the Eagles didn't fall off. They stayed elite. Top 10 in pass defense again. Only 14 passing touchdowns allowed. In a league built around throwing the football, that's dominance. Now think about Dallas. Worst pass defense in the NFL. 32nd. Opposing quarterbacks treated Cowboys defensive backs like practice dummies. Receivers ran free. Safeties hesitated. Corners panicked. That's why Christian Parker's resume fits Dallas like a missing puzzle piece. Here's where the story gets even more interesting. Jerry Jones didn't promise a flashy hire. He promised a thorough one. And what this search reveals is something Cowboys fans haven't seen in years. Patience, strategy, willingness to explore outside the comfort zone. Dallas has already interviewed former head coaches like Jonathan Gannon. They've spoken with defensive minds from Minnesota and Denver. They've requested interviews with division rivals. That tells you this isn't about familiarity. It's about fit. Now ask yourself this question, and really think about it. Is Jerry Jones finally prioritizing defensive development over defensive reputation? Because that's what Demarcus Covington and Christian Parker represent. Teachers, builders, coaches who don't just call plays, but mold players. Micah Parsons is still a generational talent. But generational talents need structure to reach championships. The Cowboys have stars. What they haven't had is coherence. That's what this hire must fix. And here's the reveal that changes how you should view this entire situation. This defensive coordinator hire isn't just about 2026. It's about whether Dallas believes its window is still open. Dak Prescott's timeline. Micah Parsons' prime. CeeDee Lamb's contract. Everything intersects here. A bad hire wastes another year. A great hire resets the narrative. Suddenly, Dallas isn't just talented. They're disciplined. Suddenly, late-season collapses aren't inevitable. They're preventable. Jerry Jones knows this. That's why the net is wide. That's why the names are intentional. That's why this search feels different. Now I want to hear from you, because this part matters. If you were Jerry Jones, would you trust a young defensive architect like Demarcus Covington? Or would you steal from a rival and bring Christian Parker to Dallas to fix the league's worst pass defense? Drop your answer below and tell me why. Because whichever direction Dallas chooses, it will define the Cowboys for years to come.